Finally, there is an STR insurance company in the USA that's affordable to you, and they even help you get an arbitrage policy. This is so exciting for me. Let's get into it right now on the Fearless Investor Podcast with Steadily. Hey, I need to take a really quick break from this podcast. And if you are a loyal listener of the Fearless Investor Podcast, you're probably either a business owner or looking to start a business. And for that reason, you need to make sure you're doing things correctly, down to the T. From forming the correct LLC to bookkeeping to understanding the tax code and more. It's all really the boring stuff, but it can make or break your business. In fact, if you aren't doing it correctly, you could be like 98% of other business professionals in the US and overpay on taxes. Don't do that, guys. Be the 2%. And that's why I rely on Easier Accounting, and so should you. Easier Accounting is a team of tax professionals that will set up your LLC, keep your books, file your taxes, and they can even repair your credit. And just so you know, I myself use Easier Accounting, and this came after using a similar company that, really being blunt here, completely ripped me off. So when I started using Easier Accounting, I came in a little bit skeptical, but as I started talking to them, I could really tell they had my best interests at heart. And you know me, if I'm not a professional, I'm not going to do it myself. I'm going to outsource that stuff. And I hope you will do the same and use that same mindset to hire professionals to help you form and manage your business. Easier Accounting is absolutely the way to go. Go check them out at fearlesskyle.com/easier accounting. Guys, what's up? Fearless Investor Podcast here. Kyle Stanley, and I am just going to jump right into it. I'm going to waste no time, get right to it with Max, who is the CIO of Steadily. And guys, I've been asking for this for the longest time, a nationwide company that allows you to be able to not only get short-term rental insurance, but also long-term rental insurance, not be overkill, not give you all the things that you don't need, customized to you, and can even provide you with an arbitrage policy. And it's going to be super simple. The link is in the description. If you're listening on the podcast, it's in the show notes. You can get started with a free quote from Steadily. And here is all the benefits of using them. Let's get to it right now with Max McClure. Guys, welcome into the Fearless Investor Podcast. And if you are here live with us with the Six-Figure Formula, we are excited to talk about insurance. I know that's kind of like an oxymoron, right, Max? Excited to talk about insurance. but seriously, before I introduce you, I just want everyone to really hear this. About 2 years ago, I just sat down with a large group of influencers / coaches in this space and was just like, is there anyone out there that is nationwide for insurance that we can just be like, go to these guys that isn't? And I apologize to Proper ahead of time, but Proper insurance to me is effective, but it is like the Cadillac, you got to spend a lot of money and sometimes you're getting overkill. I just want something simple, like something that is tangible for everyone. And the answer to that at that point for everyone in this conversation was no. And then, here we are 2 years later and I was able to meet you guys, and now there is a yes. You guys are the yes to that answer now. And I'm excited to introduce you to our audience, for our audience to meet Steadily. But Max McClure, CIO of Steadily out of Austin, Texas. Thanks for jumping on here, Max.
Yeah, Kyle, thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Well, let's just, since I already mentioned it, let's kind of just dive into that really quick. So first of all, guys, USA based. So first of all, Steadily is, if you're listening in from Australia or Canada or Mexico or somewhere outside of the US, not currently in those areas, but will eventually be international. So be on the look. But the usual go-to up until today has been go to proper.insure and get started there. How would you compare a Proper to a Steadily? I know I just kind of called it the Cadillac and maybe the overkill version. Is that a good way to put it? Or what other ways would you be able to just equate it to everyone here listening?
Yeah, absolutely. So taking a little bit further of a step back to kind of give you the history of insurance for landlords, all the existing players in the space, or all the incumbents, they built their products around long-term rentals, and they're trying to figure out, how do we adapt these products to the short-term rental space? Mm-hmm. And so when you're a real estate investor trying to find insurance, you run into a lot of roadblocks where either you're getting, rejected by let's just use some of the bigger brand names that you see on TV, like State Farm, Liberty Mutual, Allstate, those types of companies, Some of them do not want the short-term rentals, so you'll bump into roadblocks with them. Or if they do have a product, it's really clunky and not user-friendly. And so that's where Steadily comes in, and we offer a very quick, simple, affordable insurance option that's also widely available. You mentioned Kyle Proper a couple times. We think very highly of Proper. They have they're a very respectable competitor of ours. But they, I would say where we differentiate is our sophistication in pricing and availability, to where you can get that, a very strong policy that is more affordable.
Yeah, and just to set the tone here, guys, this is not a let's bash Proper podcast. This is another option for you, right? For me, I never found Proper to be an option for me because I'm not doing the luxury properties with the that needs every little nook and cranny insured. And for me, I wanted something a little bit more customized, and that's what I've been able to work with Steadily on. And one of the really fun things about you guys is, as soon as I put my address in and ask for a quote, I'm getting a call right away, which is amazing customer service from what I've experienced. And by the way, if you're here live, we're going to drop the link on how you can get started with Steadily and get a free quote. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast, it is in the description or the show notes. So please check that out. But is that something that you guys, use as a differentiator as well? Just the quick and, getting quotes fast kind of experience for your customers?
Yeah, speed is incredibly important to us. I mean, we optimize around how can we save our customers 5 seconds here, 2 seconds there in the process. And we really want to be accommodating to whatever the preferred route of the customer is to buy insurance. So if you want to go through a traditional agent or broker, we contract with those folks. If you want to come to Steadily and you want to speak to a human being to walk you through the process, we are very quick in picking up the phone and walking you through that. Also, if you want to go through the process yourself and do it all on your own, we have that option available to you too. And it's very quick and seamless and intuitive as well.
And I will give a personal story on this. We were buying a property in Indiana, and it was me and a partner, and he said, "Hey, I've got this insurance guy. I've used him for a long time. I really like to try." I said, "Yeah, go for it." 5 days later, he still doesn't have a quote for us. And I was like, "Why doesn't he have a?" And he's like, "Well, he sent me this long list of all the things that he needs." And I was like, "Can I just try something really quick?" And he goes, "Yeah, go for it." And 15 minutes later, I called him up and said, "I just got a quote." He's like, "No, you didn't." I'm like, "Yes, I did. I just plugged it into Steadily. I got a call right away." And literally within 15 minutes, they had something from, I believe it was American Modern, was what you guys ended up sending our way. But that's how quick of an experience I had with you, which is why I'm very comfortable with bringing you on here and talking about it. You've been in the game for a long time. I think the biggest question that people need to really have ironed out is, there's a big difference, especially if things go wrong, right? That's why we need insurance. We don't, what's the term? When we don't want it, or when we need it is when we want it, or I don't remember how that term goes, but when you don't even think about needing it is when you need it the most. And for me, I've seen people go through fires and go through theft and go through all these things. And it's like, thank God you had the right insurance. Is there any story? Is there any light that you can bring to people of why you need that short-term rental rider, or that short-term rental, just making sure that's on the policy versus just a long-term rental or a homeowner's policy?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I mean, when you're talking about a short-term rental, going back to my initial comment about how a lot of companies are trying to pivot a product that was built for long-term rentals to short-term rentals, and that process is very much still in flight for a lot of more traditional companies. And so the risk you run with some of those traditional companies is that there's going to be coverage gaps. And so you really want to focus on those companies that like short-term rentals and are tailoring their product to them and continuing to innovate. So a couple of examples of things that Steadily has done that really tailor the coverage for short-term rentals is we actually extend some liability coverage off premises. So think about if you have like bikes or kayaks or something like that you keep as your short-term rental that your tenants can use when they're using your short-term rental. Most companies would not extend that liability coverage off premises for those activities. Steadily's policies does, which better protects you in case something happens. So if somebody were to get I don't know, injured on your bike or kayak, sticking with those examples, you want to make sure that you're covered if you are determined to be negligent, didn't maintain a kayak or bike, or you did something wrong, something like that. So I definitely encourage your audience to like focus on those people that are really leaning into this space versus people who are doing it reluctantly. I think that will lead to a lot better results. You ask about a story, Kyle, about my experience in this. I actually have a funny personal story. It's kind of funny, kind of not. So I rented this Airbnb in rural Arkansas. I think it was like on 30 acres. It was like this early 1900s farmhouse. It was amazing. We went there for a week with my family and my in-laws. And, first couple of days went by fine. I went to bed, I think, on the third day. And I woke up in the middle of the night and there was like something very large crawling on me. Like I didn't have a shirt on. So I felt this thing like walking on me. And I don't really know why I kept my cool, but I didn't like move or anything. I kind of just stayed still.
Oh
And then I kind of watched it crawl off of me.
Chills.
I watched it crawl off of me. And then it started walking in between my wife and I in the bed. And then I jumped up and I got my flashlight out and I shined a light on it. And it was this like massive spider. And so then I grabbed like this magazine that was sitting next to the bed and I swept it onto the floor. I went over and looked at it and it was a brown recluse. And I didn't even know brown recluses had gotten this big. Like I Googled it. It had the fiddle on its back. And I kid you not, it was 2 inches wide. It was huge. So funny story, and long story short, like the next morning I was like folding my kids' laundry and there was another brown recluse in my son's underwear. And then we packed up and left. So that's like your nightmare scenario, right?
Oh my God. Yeah, I should have asked you to tell me the story before. I'm like getting pale white right now. This is like my worst nightmare. Okay.
Yeah. So that was, and another thing about brown recluses, if you didn't know, is you actually don't know if you get bit for at least a day. Like it's like a painless bite. So like, anyway, we drove home, we left early because we were like, we're not staying there. And for like a day, I wasn't sure if I got bit. I didn't get bit, but that was great. Anyway, so we started emailing the landlord and I was like, hey, like, here's like video of this brown recluse. Like I had pictures and everything. I sent it to them, got a partial refund. That was fine. But they were like, yeah, we haven't gotten it sprayed in like a really long time. And I was like, ooh, man, that's the kind of situation where like now, since you haven't taken like the proper precautions, like there could be, if I gotten bit and had like a serious medical injury, there could have been liability on behalf of the landlord if like something had happened. So that's a situation where you want to make sure you have the right liability coverage for the right risk. And, I definitely am a big proponent if you're a short-term rental owner to obviously maintain your property and do regular pest control. In this case, it was like a farmhouse. So like the risk was a little bit different than like your standard home that may be in different areas, but definitely get the highest liability limits available to you, like, 1 million, 2 million, that's pretty standard. Get that. If you've got a big portfolio of short-term rentals, definitely get a umbrella policy that covers, kind of sits on top of all of your underlying liability limits. And then also like really leaning into the short-term rental operators who are focusing on that space, I think will help you with any potential coverage gaps.
I'm asking the group right now, who else's skin is crawling? Because, oh my gosh, that sounds like my worst nightmare. The only thing worse would be if you told me there was a shark under the bed. So
it was a similar feeling to that. And my wife got a very rude awakening when I was like, there's a massive spider in the bed. I've never seen her move that quickly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Let's pivot for a second here. And this is where we'll kind of end, because one of the biggest questions I get, especially in the short-term rental space, and I apologize, I didn't even prep you for this question, but I've talked to your reps and I know that you guys have options for these. So I'm assuming you're going to have an answer for this, but the arbitrage play in short-term rentals, right? Where we go and we rent and then sublease. You guys have products for that as well?
Yeah, we do. Yes,
cool.
That's correct.
Can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different providers that we write through. So we have certain products that Steadily has developed ourselves, and we do on our own. We have our own product that we built.
Sweet.
That is a product that we have not yet built ourselves, so we rely on other companies to do it through. But we do write a lot of different rental arbitrage products nationwide.
That's awesome, and that's just such a big need for this industry. So, guys, I mean, we're talking nationwide. We're talking affordable. We're talking so many different ways that you can customize what you need, and you can do this for arbitrage as well. I'm trying to think if I have any other questions that need to be addressed here. Is there anything I'm not asking, Max?
The only thing that is important that I don't think we've touched on yet is just like the importance of like geography, because there are definitely like, if you think about short-term rentals, a lot of times they're going to be in places where they're going to be more prone to like catastrophic events. So you think about Florida, you think about, I don't know, right on the beach where a hurricane can hit them, or maybe on a mountainside to where you're next to a forest that could burn, those sorts of things. Like people want a vacation in really cool areas, which just happen to have more risk associated with them. So the reason I bring that up is, Steadily, we have broad coverage. So we offer insurance in all 50 states. But at the same time, we have like regional experts to say like, okay, let's say you're in Colorado, you're in the mountains. Like we know there's different people that want to write this type of insurance, and your needs as the customer are slightly different than somebody who is in a different region, if that makes sense.
Okay, Max. So obviously next step for anyone, if they've got a property that they're going to arbitrage, that they're going to co-host, that they're going to buy themselves, just get started with the link. And that's just the easiest way for everyone to get a free quote, correct?
Yep, that's right, Cal. That's right.
Okay,
Please
perfect.
reach out.
So for those of you that are in the six-figure formula, I've already dropped that in the comments. For those of you that are not in the six-figure formula, what are you waiting for? Because what we're able to do now is Max is going to stay on. We're going to ask some questions. I see Tiffany's got a question. I see a few other questions here. We're going to get those answered. That's part of the benefit you being in the six-figure formula. fearlesskyle.com/6ff. Go check it out. But for those of you that are not there, just check in the description, check in the show notes, and you will see the link to Steadily to get started. Max, thank you so much for helping our audience to conquer the world of short-term rentals from an insurance side. Thank you. Very simple. Once again, go down to the description, go down to the show notes, get started with Steadily. You can call them. You can get a free quote. I'm telling you, it is the best customer service experience that I have had. They follow up. They make sure that they get you a quote within the first 24 hours, as long as it's something that's pretty straightforward. And Max went on to share when we went into our questions in the six-figure formula that it is definitely something from the arbitrage standpoint. You're not going to see it on the website. You're going to need to get someone on the phone, because that is more of a human to human element, making sure they understand everything that you're going through from an arbitrage perspective on that deal. So make sure you just go ahead and click on the link in the description and the show notes so that you can get that free quote and you can let a representative know your situation. All right, that's going to do it for us here on the Fearless Investor Podcast, where we're helping you to conquer the world of short-term rentals. We'll see you next time.